And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Guys, some big news ahead of the weekend. Of course, as you can read there in the title, Fabrizio Romano has provided a bit of huge and shock transfer news ahead of the summer, which we're going to dive into. But of course, it was on a Slot's press conference today. And essentially, he's provided a bit of an update ahead of the big clash at the weekend, of course, against Manchester United. And there is a lot of importance on this fixture because it's too somewhat, I mean, needs no introduction anyway in terms of the sort of rivalry. However, of course, what's at stake for both clubs if they want to, of course, get Champions League football. Now, Arne Slot did, there's been much anticipated information with regard to Mo Salah. And essentially, he said that he is going to be missing the game, of course, against United. However, he will maybe be back very, very soon. Slot essentially confirmed Mohamed Salah is expected to be available before the end of the season. But he said, as we know, he is always working hard when he is fit. And when he is injured to be back, he is usually fitter than others. So we expect him to be back for the final part of the season, not for tomorrow. It was always a big relief that his injury is minor to play for us and the World Cup. Anytime a player who deserved a send-off, it's great news. So yeah, so good news in terms of Salah, but won't be playing against Manchester United. So that's a bit of an information with regard to that. But of course, it's a big game. I mean, it needs no introduction. Now, whilst our focus will be, of course, on that game this weekend, there is a little bit of an eye on what's going to be happening this summer. Of course, preparations will be firmly underway. And as you can read there in the title, Fabrizio Romano did provide a bit of transfer news, actually. And as you know, Romano, Paul Joyce, David Ornstein, fairly reputable sources when it comes to transfer news. So, yeah, let's have a little dig into what has been said. So, essentially, Romano said Curtis Jones could leave Liverpool in the summer as talks over a new deal have been stalling for months. Inter Milan have been interested since January and remain keen, depending on the price tag. And there is a host of other Premier League clubs also involved in trying to lure him away from Liverpool Football Club. So, from big news, of course, there's always an emotional factor with Curtis because he's a local lad. And when a local lad comes through, he kind of, represents a lot of the fan base, especially the match-going fans. So there's always sort of sentiment around it. And I do think Curtis is a great player, actually, as well. Let's be honest. However, I suppose he's getting to that point where he wants to be playing week in and week out and starting for teams. And we've seen that sort of route where players have left. I mean, apart from Luis Diaz, I don't find many Liverpool players that leave the club and go on to do well afterwards. It seems as though it doesn't really work out like that. But if you look at, the likes of players have gone to sort of Italy, the likes of, McTominay, has done well out to Napoli, almost come a sort of Maradona sort of figure out there. So there is an attractive proposition of maybe taking a step back, playing for a bigger club, bigger club elsewhere. Taking a step back, still playing for a big club like Inter, competing for trophies and stuff like that, and then making your way back to the Premier League again. I see it, but yeah, we'll have to wait out and see. But Fabrizio Romano has provided that news, and that Curtis Jones could leave Liverpool in the summer as talks over a new deal have been stalling for months. I'm interested to know your thoughts on that down there in the comments. Does Curtis go? Yes or no? And what are your score predictions ahead of the weekend? Do let me know in the comments. And as always, guys, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more.